Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to Al-Akhlaq Institutes. And today, inshallah, we'll be taking on Noorul Bayaan, lecture 5. So, before we move on, in the last class, we talked about al-huruf bi-harakat al-fathi and we said mawadi' al-huruf. So, we looked into how letters appear at the beginning, at the middle, and at the ending of a word. Example, we have alif at the beginning, at the middle, alif, and then we have hamza, we have ba'un at the beginning, middle, at the end, and so on and so forth. We looked into each and every one of these letters and we we talked about them. We also looked at al-huruf al-mutashabaha kitaban, and then we have al-huruf al-mutashabaha nutqan. So letters that look similar in terms of their writing. So if you look at each and every one of these letters, they look very similar. And there are some people, when reciting the Quran, they tend to mix up these letters that look similar. And then we have al-huruf al-mutashabaha nutqan. That means letters that sound similar. It's not, they don't necessarily look similar, but when you are pronouncing them, their point of articulation is very close or even the same. Therefore, they sound similar. And this is people would usually mix the letters up in terms of their pronunciation. This is very prevalent. Example, qaf and kaf. Some people may mix it and pronounce qafun as kafun, and then zai and dhal. Some people may pronounce zayun as dhalun and or vice versa. So these are common mistakes that people make. We looked into each and every one of these letters so that and we pronounce them so that we can avoid making these mistakes and so that we can avoid so that we can better our Quran recitation and Arabic pronunciation, especially when we're applying it when reciting Quran and reading Arabic text, because that is the end goal when learning Noorul Bayaan. So moving on, we're still going to continue with Harakat al-Fathi. So we're looking at letters with Fatha on top of it. Remember, we talked about the three Harakat, Fatha, Kasra, and Dhamma. So the Fatha Harakat, that is one you see on top. So we're going to look at Fatha, we're going to continue with Harakat al-Fathi. So we have, for each of this example, we have three letters and then each of these letters have fatha, and once you join these three letters together it will form a single word. So we have alif fatha a, mimun fatha ma, ra'un fatha ra, amara, amara. We have sinun fatha sa, alifun fatha a, lamun fatha la, sa'ala, sa'ala, sa'ala. One thing you should also look at, apart from just pronouncing each letter and then stringing them together as a single word, you should notice how some of these letters are being written in at the middle of words. So look at, this is mimun at the middle of a word. You can't join alifun with the next letter. So you have to write alifun on its own and then mimun would continue. And then look at alifun at the middle of a word. Look at jim at the middle of a word. So you should try to remember it, because this is what we talked about in the previous lecture here where we have harakat al-fath. So try to recall this. And then we move to lamun fatha la, jimun fatha ja, alifun fatha a, laja'a, laja'a. Then we move to ba'un fatha ba, ta'un fatha ta, and then shinun fatha sha. We have batasha, batasha. Then moving on, we have nunun fatha na, باء فتحة باء، ذال فتحة ذا، نبذ، نبذ. ثاء فتحة ثاء، قاف فتحة قاف، باء فتحة باء، ثقب. تاء فتحة تاء، جيم فتحة جاء، راء فتحة راء، تاجر. We have كاف فتحة كاء، تاء فتحة تاء، باء فتحة باء، كتب. We have ثاء فتحة ثاء، باء فتحة باء، تاء فتحة تاء، ثبت. We have ثاء فتحة ثاء، راء فتحة راء، دال فتحة دا، ثرد. We have نون فتحة ناء، ثاء فتحة ثاء، راء فتحة راء، نثر. We have باء فتحة باء، عين فتحة عاء، ثاء فتحة ثاء، بعث. Moving on. Now I'm going to keep pronouncing the letters without calling them one by one. So instead of saying ba'un fatha ba, ainun fatha a, Tha'un fatha tha, I will just say ba'atha. So you should know from the previous lectures, by now, you should be able to identify each and every one of these letters. I don't need to call it out. As long as you have watched the previous lectures and you practice it, by now you should be able to identify each and every one of these letters. So the next one we have jalasa, sajada, nasaja, habasa, طحن مسح خضع نخر نسخ دفن صدع قعد ذهب لذع أخذ رزق ركع قرأ غسل نصر. And the example continues in the next page. We have وعظ حرث أكل ضجع قرض ظهر زحف لزق غمز سكب مسخ عبس شرع خشع خمش صدق بصم فحص ضرب هضم غمض طلع خطب غبط ظلم نظر لحظ عكف سعل قلع غفر ضغط. And then we are going to continue with the example. So in the previous example, they separated each and every one of these letters, and then once you separate them one by one, like for example, here we have vo, lam, and mim. You separate them vo, la, ma, vo, la, ma. So once you join them together, it forms a single word. So in this example, you know, one thing, if you look at how this book started, we started from the Arabic alphabet, that is Alif and Ba on their own. So once you learn the Arabic alphabet, you look at examples. So we'll pronounce it with fatha and we look at examples of words that comes with it. So aqsa, baytun, tamrun. We have looked at these examples. Then from here, we looked into mawadi al-huruf. Now we looked into how each and every one of these letters appear at the beginning, middle, and the end. So all these are crucial details you need to know when learning how to pronounce Arabic alphabet, when learning how to string words and sentences together. Because the goal is at the end of this book, you should be able to recite the Quran to an extent. You should be able to recite Tilawa to an extent. And also, you should be able to read Arabic text to an extent. So we have learned how these letters appear at the beginning, middle, and ending of words. Then we looked at letters that look similar. We also looked at letters that sound similar. And now um we're looking at words with three letters, and you string these three letters together to form a single word. So after that, we are now looking at words with three letters. But in this example, instead of separating all the letters at once, you join the first two letters together so that you know how letters are joined and how they would look like in a word and in a sentence. So instead of just looking at it separately, you look at how it will look, how these words would look like when you are mixing them, how these letters would look like when you are joining them together with other letters. So that is the goal where as we're moving on. And then after this, we now completely join them together. So as you can see, moving on, we join them together. We move on from one or two letters to three letters at once, and then we move on to words and sentences. So let's continue. We have صاد عين صاد فتحة صا عين فتحة and then دال فتحة دا صعد So we joined Sodun and Ainun first before leaving Dalun on its own. So looking at this, you should also be able to identify each and every one of these letters as long as you read, listened, and you practice this lecture here. So moving on, we have صعد ولها فطم شغف مضغ نفخ شفع شرح قنت سقط خلق كسر شكر ملك لطم حلف قفل ملأ همس هجم نشأ منح سكن هتف نهب نده ينع دين يفع وعز صنع صمد. And now we move on to um, the next examples within Harakat al-Fathi. But in this situation, we're joining the three letters together at once. We're not separating any letter. We're not separating them one by one and stringing them. We're joining it at once so that we look at how all these three letters, how Arabic letters would look like in a single word, and how you would write it when you're stringing them together, how it would appear at the beginning, middle, and the end. So you should analyze and notice each and every one of these things. So listen attentively as we continue to pronounce each and every one of this word. We have سبح نهر ولج ربأ عرض خلد قنص صهر صدر مقت نبض طلق أثر قنع لقط نسف نصف فنت فتن فطر شمخ طرق ترك رقد ركض فقد لمس همز حسد عثر جثم ولد ورد بسط بصع غبق نكص نقص نثر نفث لفح. So this is where we'll stop today, inshallah. And in the next class, inshallah, we're going to continue with Harakat al-Fathi. So instead of just stringing three letters and a single word together, we're going to string two different words together. ركع وسجد دخل وجلس مسك فنظر. So we're going to string two different words together in a single sentence. And then we now move on to الحروف بحركة الكسر. So after looking at letters with fatha haraka, we look at letters with kasra haraka. So if you have any question, feel free to comment below or reach out to me on WhatsApp. And may Allah bless your efforts in listening to this lecture and paying attention, because not everyone will sit down from the beginning to the end, listen to the lecture and also practice it. So may Allah make this knowledge a barakah for you, and may Allah continue to strengthen your iman and make this a source of reward and a source of barakah to you and your family, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.